What's up, everyone? This is Bacon, and today we're going to do a video of talking about the three heroes that I have kind of just been the most disappointed with since being introduced to AFK Companions. Now, these heroes don't necessarily mean that they're terrible heroes or they're just not viable or the total trash, but this is based on my experience with Classic and having played Classic, and then once they get introduced to Companions, just kind of being disappointed with how they turn out, or just maybe I'm just disappointed in how a hero is, and I thought they'd be better in Companions. So that's the criteria what I'm going to go off of. It's mostly just feels and kind of what I'm feeling. But if you have anyone that you were kind of disappointed upon release, or once you kind of built them out and you just kind of feel like they weren't that good, leave in the comments. I'm curious to know what you think. And before we jump into this, I want to give a quick plug to my other channel, Tap B for Baconator. I kind of do random videos on there once in a while. I usually review different games that I play, mostly mobile games, but from time to time they will be just random games, or I might just make videos of random stuff. I don't know. But I just made a video today on a new game that just came out called Chaos Zero Nightmare or Zero Chaos Nightmare, something like that. And I just posted. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave the link to my channel in the description below. But that's all. But now let's get into the actual meat and potatoes of this video, and that is looking at heroes that honestly I have been kind of disappointed on. But first, let's look at this. I got new equipment. Cool. So my first hero that comes in at number 3 as being the one that I am most disappointed with is Raku. Raku used to be in Classic a pretty strong Wilder hero. He was actually one of my first Wilders that I ever built out when playing Classic, because I kind of joined early to midway through the game coming out, and he was fun. He helped me with my Wilder Tower. He is just has a cool kind of, I don't know, design that I think makes him a fun character to be. And when he was introduced into Companions, I thought he would be a really strong Wilder, but unfortunately, he kind of just doesn't hit the mark. And I think part of that is because Wilders are so strong, he just doesn't really have anywhere to fit in. So unfortunately, he's kind of my number 3. I wish he would fit in more. I wish that he would be more viable, but he's just kind of and just kind of misses the mark. And I think something that's kind of weird with him is there's a good case to not build him up to 5 stars, because it kind of can prohibit his ability to do damage in certain parts of the game. And so I don't know. I just not my favorite hero anymore. I used to love him in Classic, but he's just kind of not my guy anymore. Now, the next one, this character used to be absolutely like bonkers, like early mid game hero, like would carry you so far, and that hero is Damon. Damon used to be just an absolute wild man in Classic. He was my first like fully built into hero in Classic, and he got me probably to like chapter 35-ish, and carrying me a lot of the way there. He would 1v5 in a lot of situations, and when he came out in Companions, I just assumed like he would be the same way. He'd just be absolutely busted, would be pushing me really far in campaign, in towers, and so on, but he just doesn't really do that as well. He's not as strong. He doesn't have that carrying ability, which I think was really disappointing. I'm not saying that Companions should be an exact replica of Classic in this. Don't get me wrong, but because Damon was like such an overpowered monster in Classic, I assumed he would be the same way in Companions, but he really isn't. You know, he's not a bad character. You can definitely use him in different areas, still like campaign and towers, but he just doesn't have that magical effect where you could just run for an entire chapter at times and he would just clear wave, clear wave, clear wave, and you just knew he would keep going. Not quite like that in Companions, unfortunately. So he is ranking at number 2 on my list. Now, this last one, this hero, I've probably been the most disappointed since their release in Companions. And the reason for that is, one, they were a hypogene hero that I really thought was going to be like the first like busted Hypogene Celestial hero. I was like, when they announced the release, I was like, yep, this is the one. This is the one that people have been waiting to use their cards for. And since her release, she just has not hit the mark. And you can probably guess who I'm talking about. And it's the only one I actually don't have. I have all these just from pulling random cards. But that hero is Lucretia. Lucretia was my first Hypogene that I built out in Classic. And at the time, she was very strong. She would clear 1v5 Hypogene Tower. She was really good in campaign and different other areas like that. And she was just, she had spots in Dream Realms and all sorts of areas where she was just the strongest hero in the game, frankly. Her kit and design is super cool. A floating horn demon lady with purple hair and a sword. And her hair changes as she kind of pops off. Can't really get better than that. But since her release, she just hasn't been very good. I think part of that is because there's no Hypogene Tower, and so it just kind of pulls back on some of her usefulness. There's no really point in building her out for campaign and towers, especially when you don't have Hypogene Tower. She didn't really find a lot of value elsewhere in Companions, and that's kind of what brought her kind of value down. But she does have a skin, which honestly, I like the default better than this one. This one's a little too crazy for me, but I know some people like it. I think this skin was also one of the first skins in the game that were super expensive. But I just loved her like scaling ability where she'd take a hero down and she kind of keep going and going and going. And she just hasn't really found that value. And because Companions, if you're going to invest in a Hypogene or Celestial, they really have to be good. She just didn't hit the mark there. And so Lucretia is my most disappointing hero in Companions. I'm sorry, Lucretia. You aren't it. You're not the same as you were in Classic. And that is disappointing to me. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. I'm curious to know what heroes, whether you played Classic or not, what heroes you've been kind of disappointed in. Maybe there's a hero that you wanted to build out and you were really excited to, and then you built them out and you're just kind of like, they're okay, but they're not great. Or maybe you are kind of a Classic veteran and there was a hero that you were really excited for, and they're just not as good in Companions as they were in Classic. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. So leave in the comments below. An honorable mention, and this is just for vibes only, is Turtle Man. I love Turtle Man. I love his design. I love his hammer. I love that he just jumps up and smashes, but he just isn't very useful in really any part of the game. So he's my honorable mention at number 4, but he's more of a vibe check. Just kind of toss him in there. But thank you guys for watching. If you like these kind of videos where they're more just kind of like fun topics, let me know in the comments too. I'm very curious to know what kind of direction you want with some of these videos, because I am kind of running out of topics to talk about because there's just more of a waiting period at this point in the game, which is totally fine. But I'm happy to make some of these more kind of relaxed, fun videos too. But if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe below. And as always, have a great rest of your day. Peace.